Imagine a normal person, your neighbor, friend, or even a family member, turning into a daring bank robber. Between 1930 and 1990, several unexpected people shocked the world with their crimes. From Willie Sutton, who escaped prison 3 times, to Patty Hearst, who went from Harris to outlaw, these stories reveal how ordinary lives took extraordinary turns. But what drove them to crime? Let's uncover the truth. John Dillinger, the most wanted man in America. In the early 1930s, America was in crisis. The Great Depression had left people struggling, and crime was on the rise. But one name stood out: John Dillinger. He became the FBI's public enemy No. 1, robbing over 24 banks and escaping prison twice. Born on June 22, 1903, in Indianapolis, Indiana, Dillinger had a troubled youth. He joined a gang and was soon arrested for a robbery in 1924. Sentenced to 10 years, he learned the tricks of crime in prison. When he was released in 1933, he was ready for action. In 1934, Dillinger was captured and placed in Crown Point Jail, known as Escape Proof. But his daring escape made headlines, and the FBI, led by J. Edgar Hoover, intensified the chase. On July 22, 1934, an informant named Anna Sage tipped off the police. Dillinger was spotted at the Biograph Theater in Chicago. As he stepped out, FBI agents surrounded him. He ran but was shot 3 times, with a fatal bullet hitting his heart. John Dillinger was dead at age 31. Thousands attended his funeral, and his legend lived on. Some still believe he faked his death. But one thing is certain: he was the most wanted man in America. Here, Willie Sutton, the gentleman bank robber. Born on June 30, 1901, in Brooklyn, New York, Willie Sutton was no ordinary criminal. He was known for his charm, intelligence, and ability. In his early 20s, he started his life in crime, first robbing jewelry stores and later moving to banks, where he found his true calling. Sutton dressed like a businessman, carried no guns, and often used disguises, earning him the nickname the Gentleman Robber. He was a master of deception, pretending to be a bank official or even a policeman to gain access to vaults. In 1930, Sutton pulled off his first major bank robbery. Along with a small team, he walked into a bank in New York, dressed as a messenger, and walked out with thousands of dollars. His smooth approach made him almost invisible. In 1931, he was arrested for robbery and sentenced to 30 years in prison. But prison couldn't hold him. In 1932, he and other inmates used a smuggled gun to escape. Though he was recaptured after a few months, this was just the beginning of his legendary escapes. In 1947, Sutton was arrested again and sent to Eastern State Penitentiary. This time, he and 11 other prisoners dug a tunnel through solid stone for over a year. When they finally broke free, it became one of the most famous escapes in history. However, Sutton was caught again after just 5 minutes of freedom. His most famous arrest happened on February 18, 1952, when a detective recognized him from a most wanted poster in New York City. Sutton was captured without a fight and sentenced to life in prison. Even behind bars, Sutton remained a legend. When asked why he robbed banks, he famously replied, "Because that's where the money is." This quote became one of the most famous lines in criminal history. In 1969, at the age of 68, Sutton was released from prison due to health issues. He lived quietly until his death on November 2, 1980. Despite his crimes, many saw him as a clever and non-violent outlaw who outsmarted the system. His life inspired books, movies, and even security changes in banks. Willie Sutton was not just a bank robber. He was a master of disguise, a genius escape artist, and a legend in American crime history. Jesse James, the outlaw who became a legend. In the heart of Missouri during the chaos of the American Civil War, 1861 to 1865, a young man named Jesse James began his journey from an ordinary farm boy to one of the most feared outlaws in history. Born on September 5, 1847, Jesse was raised in a deeply divided America. His family supported the Confederate Army, and as a teenager, he joined a violent guerrilla group led by William Quantrill, known for brutal attacks on Union soldiers. After the war, Jesse and his older brother Frank James refused to surrender. Instead, they turned to a life of crime. In 1866, the James Younger Gang was formed, including the famous Cole Younger and his brothers. They started robbing banks, trains, and stagecoaches across the Midwest. Their first recorded bank robbery happened on February 13, 1866, in Liberty, Missouri, where they stole $60,000, a fortune at the time. Jesse became famous not just for his crimes, but also for his charm. He sent letters to newspapers, portraying himself as a Robin Hood-like figure, though there's no proof he ever helped the poor. His daring heists and ability to escape the law made him a legend, but as his crimes increased, so did the pressure to catch him. By the late 1870s, most of the gang was either dead or captured. Jesse, however, tried to live a normal life in St. Joseph, Missouri, under the name Thomas Howard. But on April 3, 1882, his own gang member, Robert Ford, shot him in the back for a $10,000 reward. Jesse James, only 34 years old, died instantly. Though gone, Jesse's legend only grew. His life inspired books, movies, and even songs, making him one of America's most famous outlaws. But was he a hero or just a ruthless criminal? That question remains unanswered to this day. The LA heist that inspired a movie. On February 28, 1997, Larry Phillips Jr. and Emil Matasareanu walked into the Bank of America in North Hollywood, Los Angeles, armed with AK-47s, full-body armor, and thousands of rounds of ammunition. They were ready for war. These two men were not ordinary criminals. They had been robbing banks for years, but this heist would make history. At 9:17 a.m., they stormed the bank, terrifying customers and employees. They fell apart when police arrived earlier than expected. Instead of escaping, they opened fire, unleashing one of the most intense shootouts in U.S. history. Outgunning the police, they kept firing for 44 minutes, injuring 12 officers and 8 civilians. The police, armed only with handguns, were no match. Officers rushed to a local gun store for high-powered rifles. Meanwhile, the robbers moved through the streets, bullets flying everywhere. Matasareanu was shot in the leg but kept fighting. Phillips, realizing he was surrounded, took his own life. Matasareanu surrendered but bled out before paramedics arrived. Their crimes shocked the nation, leading to major changes in police weaponry. This real-life heist inspired the 1995 film Heat, starring Robert De Niro and Al Pacino. Their deadly showdown became one of the most famous robbery stories in history. From John Dillinger to Jesse James, and from Willie Sutton to the infamous LA heist robbers, these criminals turned their lives into legendary tales of crime. Some were seen as heroes, others as ruthless villains, but all of them shaped history in their own way. Their stories prove one thing: desperation, greed, or rebellion can turn ordinary people into outlaws. But was it fate, circumstance, or choice that led them down this path? That remains the mystery of crime.